What do this camcorder, this album, and this board game have in common? Not much, but they're three of my favorite things, so let's talk about them. Hello everyone, if you've seen my face before, it's good to see you again. If you haven't, my name's Nick Vogel and you're watching The Good Stuff. Before we get into this first episode, I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of talk you through what this show is going to be. I want this show to be a place where we can appreciate all of the good stuff that's happening now, the good stuff that's happened in the past, and the good stuff that hopefully happens in the future. In some episodes, I'll talk about things I collect, things I love, things that excite me. Sometimes we'll go out into the community and see what good stuff is going on out there. And my hope is that a big part of this show is sharing all the good stuff that's going on in your life too. Today's episode is going to be centered around intentionality. I feel like with all the distractions and bad news and things in our current world, it's harder to be intentional and harder to be present. But the reason I'm creating this show is because I want to kind of break out of that cycle for myself and hopefully include you in that with me. My main goal for this series was to create an atmosphere where you feel comfortable hanging out with me and where I can slow down a little bit in my life and be intentional about the content I'm posting on the internet. Rather than just pumping out minute-long videos every day and kind of playing the game of the algorithm, I really wanted to challenge myself by breaking out of that and creating something, again, that is just more intentional, more of a representation of who I am and the things that I love. And don't get me wrong, I love TikTok, I love Instagram. I am super thankful for the audience I've built on both of those platforms. And for those of you who have known me for a long time, I really do appreciate you being here. It means the world to me. It's changed my life in so many ways. But over the past year or so, I really haven't been able to shake the urge to start posting longer form stuff. So like I said, welcome to the show. I'm happy to have you here. We have three really cool things that I'm going to show you today, with the first one being this camcorder. Let's talk about what this represents and what my plans are for the future with this thing. As a kid who grew up in the 90s, I remember when this was the only way we could document pretty much anything that happened in our lives. Whether it was a birthday, a holiday, a sporting event, really anything that you wanted to capture. If you wanted that to happen, you had to lug this thing around with you. And if you didn't bring this thing with you and something cool happened, you kind of just missed your chance to document that. And it had to live solely in your memory bank from there on out, which back then felt very frustrating from time to time. But looking back on it now, like many other things, I kind of wish we could go back to a time that felt a little more like that. Now don't get me wrong, there are plenty of great things about modern technology and having a ultra high definition camera in your pocket, kind of ready to pull out and go anytime. But the biggest con of that, and I think a lesson we can learn from technology of the past, is that I think we tend to over document things now. I mean, how many times have you been in a situation where you pulled out your phone to record the finale of a fireworks show or a part of a concert that you were enjoying? And while in the moment you think to yourself, man, this is so awesome, I have basically unlimited space to record anything I want to go back and look at any time I want. But the problem with that is if you're anything like me, you never go back and look at it. So I would argue in those moments that it would actually benefit you to not have the phone in your pocket and not have access to it. Because I think sometimes you feel a pressure to document it because, maybe you spent a lot of money on the ticket and you want to have the memory to go back and access. But going back to this thing, there are thousands of memories that happen throughout my life that I have no documentation of. But regardless, I still have fond memories. I didn't need the video to remember or to appreciate the things that have happened to me throughout my life. And I don't think you do either. I don't want to get on here every week and preach to you, but I'm being very honest when I tell you next time you pull out your phone to document something, really think about what you're going to do with that footage. I would argue that watching whatever you're recording without your phone in front of your face would make it a lot more special in that moment. And it would make the price you spent to be there worth it. It would make your fandom worth it. So does this mean I think we shouldn't record anything with our phones? I probably have over 1,000 videos of my kids and my dogs. No exaggeration, maybe more. So if you're in a similar situation, here's what I at least urge you to do with that. Make it a regular part of your daily or weekly routine to go back and kind of enjoy some of that footage that you might not have looked at in a long time. Because at the end of the day, you traded being in the moment to capture that for yourself for later on down the road. You might as well go back and make a conscious effort to enjoy it, or you kind of wasted your time. And to be honest with you, starting this show in the first place is really a practice what you preach type of moment for me. I'm trying to actively be more intentional about what I document because honestly, a lot like recording a concert or a fireworks show on your phone, posting short form content on TikTok or Instagram have a very similar dynamic for a creator. Someone can put a lot of time and a lot of effort into those videos and they might do really, really well, get millions of views. But with the way the algorithms work and the way you're encouraged to produce more and more and more and stack this content on top of each other daily, multiple times a day, multiple times a week. Like the old videos that fade away in the back of your camera roll, these creations that you've put out fade away into the algorithm and into the app, really never to be seen again. And with the fleeting nature of the content and the trends that come and go on those apps, I wanted to do something different for myself. These videos are not going to follow trends. I'm not going to try to optimize engagement. I'm just going to let it do its thing. I have faith that these videos will find the right audience now. And in the long term, if I ever become something bigger, I think it'll be a cool way to go back and say, look what Nick Vogel used to make. I would say it's highly likely that I actually use this thing in the future to create some content. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it. I have some ideas. The possibilities are really endless with this thing. I think it'd be cool from time to time to record my regular short form videos with that instead of my phone. If you have any cool ideas for how I could use this, or you want to share any ways that you use an old camcorder like this, feel free to comment down below and let me know. One of the segments I plan to have on a regular basis in The Good Stuff is going to be called Music Stuff. This is going to mean a lot of different things. Sometimes I'm going to recommend an album or an artist to you. Sometimes I'm going to review an album or a song that you guys have submitted to me. Regardless, the main idea here is to just open your mind and open my mind to all the good music that's out there. Sometimes it might be something that neither one of us has ever heard of before, but the point is there is good stuff hiding everywhere. Today we're going to talk about an album that is by no means under the radar. In my opinion, one of the greatest albums of all time, absolutely loaded from front to back with bangers. I've been listening to Steely Dan and this album specifically for a very long time. My love for music really started in my home as a kid. We were a pretty, musical family. My mom and dad both love music. We were always listening to something in the house, whether it was 90s country or Motown, classic rock. But we'd also be listening to Nelly and the Grease soundtrack. I'm kind of just trying to set the scene for who I am when it comes to music and the approach that I will take when I'm reviewing these things or telling you about albums or artists or songs that I love. I know it's cliche, but I genuinely am somebody who listens to everything. And if I don't regularly listen to something, I'm always open-minded and I'll take a moment out of my day to try something new. I really don't discriminate against any music. I was the kid in high school that as soon as I got my license when I was 16, most of the time I was listening to the oldies station on the radio in my car. But the reason I mention that is because I remember the first time I ever heard the song Dirty Work. And it was when I was a 16-year-old kid driving around in my car listening to the oldies station. And something about that song stuck with me, and it has turned into one of my favorite songs of all time. And when I was 16, I probably didn't even understand what it meant, but I just liked the sound of it. And as I got older, I developed more of a curiosity around what else these legendary artists were making, aside from the hits that I was hearing regularly on the stations. And in that quest and research stage, I found Can't Buy a Thrill, and it, again, has become one of my favorite albums of all time. Some of the hits you might have heard from this thing are Do It Again, Dirty Work, Reelin' in the Years, some really, really great songs. Now, obviously, I am very new to YouTube, so I don't know the specific rules around whether or not I'm allowed to play snippets of songs, but I do highly recommend both Steely Dan and this album. Music is going to be a big part of this show. It might not be an every week thing, but it's going to be quite a bit. And I'm going to talk a little bit more at the end of this on how you can share some of these things I've been mentioning with me to feature in later episodes of the show. Let's talk about Wavelength. This is Wavelength, and many of you watching this video probably know me because of this game. I've been playing an interactive version of that game on TikTok and Instagram for I think almost a year now, which is crazy to think about. There are a couple reasons we're talking about this today. First and foremost, for those of you who know me and love me, I just wanted to let all of you know who watch me for that specifically, a weekly segment on The Good Stuff will be playing games together just like we do on those other platforms. Because those interactive games and formats that I use so often are really the core of my internet presence, so I don't want those to go away just because I'm doing this on YouTube. And within this segment, there are even two sub-segments that I kind of see this separating into. Number one, it'll be playing these games that you're used to, kind of just like normal. So I can take more time setting the scene, explaining the rules, kind of going through the logic of why I gave the hint that I did, and really just, letting it breathe a little bit. The second way I'm going to utilize this gaming segment is bringing people on either virtually or in person to play games with me. Kind of like my own little game show. And for those of you who have followed me for a long time, I've alluded to this many times in the past. I sent out a form months ago asking people to sign up and volunteer to be on my game show. So if you did fill that out, I know you haven't gotten an update in a long time, but this is where that game show concept will live. And I am super excited about that, guys. I am a game show junkie. My dream job is to be a game show host. So I figure if I don't have the qualifications to get one of those jobs in real life, I'll make my own game show and we can just do it here. But either way, those are the two ways we're going to use this. Let's talk about Wavelength for just a second. If you haven't seen this before, this game is called Wavelength. And let me tell you the story about how I started playing this. So for the longest time, I saw other people on TikTok playing this game, and I kind of always felt left out because, like many of the other game trends like this, there were two people on the screen and they were playing the game together, but there was really no way for me to play along. I kind of just felt like an innocent bystander watching two people play a game together, and that dynamic felt odd to me. And I just kind of figured if I felt like that, there were other people who felt like that too. So I kind of came up with the idea of me and you playing this game through the screen together. I think luckily my vision resonated with a lot of people, and it really turned into kind of a cornerstone series for me, which I just never expected. So here's how the game works. Each round starts with a spectrum, like bad candy to good candy, with bad candy being over here and good candy being over here. So what happens is you get that spectrum, the person who's giving the hints spins that wheel, and when they reveal this, it shows you a point wedge. So this whole wheel represents the spectrum from bad candy to good candy. And as the hint giver, I'm gonna do this in secret. I'm gonna look at where the points are, and I'm gonna try to give the other player a hint so they can turn this dial blindly to wherever the points lie behind it. And so obviously when I introduced my concept to the world, there was a little bit of a problem. You through the screen can't move this dial to where your guess would be. So I had to be very intentional with my design of this game for short form. And so what I did is put these little numbered stickers on the board. And the reason I did this is so that you could guess a position on the board that coincided with a number. So I wanted to post these videos so that people could feel included and that we could have some fun together for just a minute. However, if you've ever checked the comment section of any of these Wavelength videos, you know that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Probably 75% of the comments I get on these videos are just brutal for me. And I recognize that a lot of people who leave these negative comments are probably just trying to be funny, and a lot of times they are funny. But honestly, some of that negativity was just shocking to me. I've gotten used to it over time. I don't really think it's ever bothered me personally, but there was a time where I kind of said, hey, I don't think I'm gonna play this anymore. It just, even though I don't take it personally, I still don't like to create stuff that generates really any negative feelings. You know, I'm trying to do this to introduce a little bit of fun into your feed, not negativity. I think the thing that gets me is people don't quite understand how hard the game is supposed to be. Because I think at its core, it's really more of a linguistic game than it is a scientific or mathematical game. It's not intended to be factual. So like if it's bad candy or good candy, and you know, the points end up down here all the way to the bad side of the spectrum, you know, I'm gonna try to give a hint here of a candy that is kind of universally known as being bad or gross. You know, I would probably say something here like black licorice. And if you're on my wavelength, you would know that I'm giving that hint because it's so universally hated. Playing Wavelength doesn't mean sharing the same opinion, but I think a lot of people interpret it that way, so it inevitably causes a little bit of friction. You know, people would guess the opposite side of the board and be like, you're so wrong about black licorice, it's my favorite. And I'm not saying your opinion is wrong. I'm really not even saying that I like or dislike black licorice. I am trying to give you a hint that would allow you to guess where on the board that would be. So you can't think about it through a personal lens. You have to think about it on the spectrum of all things and all people. Let's play a quick round and see if you can get some points. This spectrum is going to go from worst state to take a vacation to best state to take a vacation to in the United States. So I'm going to spin the wheel. I'm going to secretly reveal where the point wedge is. I'm going to cover it back up, and then I'm going to give you a hint. And based on where the points are here, my hint would be West Virginia. So of all the 50 states, from worst to best, where in that spectrum do you think West Virginia would fall for places you could take a vacation to? I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it, and then I'll reveal the answer. So the points were actually on the very bad side. So if you said 1, you would have been correct. In my estimation, West Virginia is probably the worst state to take a vacation to. Now, the reason I would use West Virginia as my hint there is because in my eyes, it is generally known as not that great of a state in many different ways. So when I revealed the points at 1, if your instinct was to say, no, you're wrong about West Virginia, it shouldn't be at 1. I'm not saying your view on West Virginia is wrong or invalid. You might love West Virginia. You might have taken an amazing trip to West Virginia. And just because you guessed that, it doesn't mean that my hint is wrong. The only thing that it means, if you are super far off from where I was, is that you're not on my wavelength. And that's the beauty of this game. When you're talking about worst and best, it's all subjective. There's no right or wrong for what state's the worst and what state's the best to take a vacation to. Even though it was intended to be a fun, innocent game, it has honestly taught me a ton about how people interact with things on social media and how no matter how innocent or kind or positive, uplifting, whatever, no matter what you're putting out on social media, there's just always a possibility that there's going to be negative feedback that comes with that. The videos that get people riled up are the ones that people comment on and the ones that get boosted in the algorithm. So while that's great for views and reach and engagement, I'm hoping that this show is a place where none of that really matters. And hopefully the positivity can shine through and we can make something really special here that kind of just shines through because it finds the right audience. So we're gonna play a lot more Wavelength here. We're gonna play a lot of different types of games. I think we've talked about plenty for today's episode, but before I leave, I wanted to give you a little bit of info about how you can contribute to this show yourself. All right, here's a list of all the things I'm looking for from you. And don't be shy. Remember, the point of this show is to share good stuff. If you got some good stuff going on, share it. People like seeing and hearing about good stuff. It's hard enough as it is to find literally anything that isn't cynical. So if you have something positive you want to share with the world, the least you could do is share it with them. If you want to submit any of these things to be included in future episodes, there is going to be a submission form in the description below. And act fast. The earlier you get in the queue, the better your chances are of getting included in the show. I'm excited to be here with you. I am super, super thankful that you joined me for this episode. Until next time, I'm Nick Vogel, and this was The Good Stuff. I love you all. Take care.